Good afternoon, everybody. Nate here with NuView Trust Company. Happy Wednesday to all of you viewers out there and investors. We've got a very, very special program today for our Wednesday workshop. I've got two gentlemen that I've had the opportunity to meet and converse with over the past month or so. And these are great guys. They're local to Florida, and they've got some real interesting things that they're doing out in Tampa, but doing it, all through, Florida as well. So can't wait to bring them on. And I do have a very, very special announcement at the end of this workshop to talk about the biggest news at NuView currently. So stay tuned for that. So let's just jump right into it. I just got a couple slides that I want to go over for anybody who is new to our Wednesday workshops. NuView Trust Company is a big, big advocator of investor education. Why is that? Because we are a self-directed custodian that allows people to make their own investment decisions. So when we have a product that clients are able to use where they have more power in their investment decisions, we want to make sure that they're making proper decisions without having to sell them any investments. So we've been a self-directed IRA custodian doing this since 2003. That we're not a new kid on the block. We currently have approximately 15,000 active investor clients who are using their IRAs, 401ks, or old employer plans or retirement plans to invest in alternative assets instead of traditional assets. And I'll talk a little bit about what that means if you're not familiar. And currently we have about $2 billion under management as far as alternative assets go. So we are very, very familiar with the space. We are one of the leaders nationally when it comes to self-directed IRA administration and education. So this is why we put these workshops on, to teach people about what is truly possible with their retirement account and give them a little bit of education as well so that they make better investment decisions when it comes to their retirement assets. And how do we do that? By offering clients what's called a self-directed IRA. I want to define self-directed for anybody who's new to this. Self-directed is not a type of IRA. Very important to understand that IRAs are no different no matter where you go legally. IRAs are all governed by the same set of rules. An IRA is an individual retirement account, and you can invest in all sorts of things with an individual retirement account. The only difference comes is when you look at a company like NuView Trust Company and Fidelity, is that Fidelity is a licensed securities broker, so they sell investments. It doesn't make them bad guys, but you're limited as to what you can invest in when your IRA is with them. When your IRA is with NuView, we don't have investments to sell you, so the spectrum of your investments goes as broad as you can make it. And the IRS does not tell us what we're allowed to invest in our IRAs. They just tell us what we're not allowed to invest in, and the list is really short. The only two investments not allowed in your retirement account is life insurance contracts and collectibles. Everything else is fair game. So what's that mean for you if you're a real estate investor? Like, we've got two real estate investors who are going to be speaking on this program with me today. I run into real estate investors all across the country at local RIAs and things like that. The power in the self-directed IRA is you can apply your knowledge as an investor to your retirement assets. That means you can buy assets within many different tax-advantaged accounts that are assets such as rental property, land, commercial property, multifamily property. We have a lot of clients invest in notes secured by real estate. I'll list more of these non-traditional alternative assets on the next slide. But before we do that, just understand that there's 7 types of accounts that we have just here at NuView that you can use to buy and own alternative assets. We have personal plans, which would include your traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. We have employer plans if you're self-employed. You can self-direct your own 401k or a SEP IRA for you and your employees, or a simple IRA for your employees. We even have non-IRAs that have tax advantage traits to them, which would be your health savings accounts and covered education savings accounts. These are not IRAs. These are plans that give you tax shelter for the purposes of paying for health expenses for you and your family and education expenses for your kids or your grandkids. When you look at the 7 types of plans there that I have, realize that these are all tax exempt trusts. You don't have to pay capital gains tax when you invest through these trusts. You just have to have a custodian that you work through and have a custodian that is willing to administrate the assets you want to hold within these plans. So there's a lot of tax benefits to holding these types of assets. Real estate's just one of them. We have a lot of clients use those accounts to buy property through foreclosures, tax liens, apartments. We're going to talk about short-term rental game today. We have a lot of clients that like to buy short-term rentals in their IRAs, Airbnbs in their IRAs. We have clients that do long-term rentals. The decision's really up to you as to what you're comfortable with. And that's why we want to give you guys as much education as possible so that you can decide what you want to own in your IRA. But these are the assets that we see most commonly in our NuView accounts. Real estate's one of them. Promissory notes secured by real estate is another big one. More passive investment styles would be your private entity investments. Syndications. We have a lot of clients that like to partner IRAs together or involve themselves into syndications that might be buying apartment buildings or commercial property. The list goes on. And we even have clients, more and more clients that are investing in cryptocurrency through their NuView accounts because you don't have to pay capital gains tax even on cryptocurrency gains, provided you're doing it within a tax advantaged account like an IRA. So these are just some of the investments that you can choose, but we're going to talk specifically about short-term rentals on this program. And I can't wait to bring in the two gentlemen, Jason Matthews and Joe Ebanks with VanBusKirk. You got to name that for me because I just know you guys by names. Why don't you guys jump in here and tell us about your company for one, and tell us a little bit about your experiences in real estate, because I know you guys have decades of experience. And it really helps for our clients that are located here in Florida to really learn from these gentlemen and learn from people like Jason Matthews and Joe Ebanks, because they've got a lot of information to share. You guys with me?
Yes, we are. We're here.
Good afternoon.
Yes, and thank you for coming out to our Night with NuView event. It was a great event. It was great to see you guys. You guys drove all the way up from Tampa. We appreciate that. You guys have been good supporters of NuView. So I really thank you guys for taking a little bit of time today and joining us on the program.
Thanks for having us, Nate. We greatly appreciate it, and really looking forward to the workshop today. And it's Jason Matthews speaking. 26 years worth of just real estate industry and real estate investment experience, from commercial to oil and gas to residential. Pretty much ran the whole gamut. From a project management standpoint and from a investment standpoint. Excited today to share the knowledge I've been able to accumulate over the years with all those that are tuning in today and those that will be taking a look at the presentation at a later date.
Awesome. And I just want to remind everybody, they're going to, as they show their screen, if you have questions, go ahead and type the questions into the chat box. If you're logged in through Zoom, we'll either answer the questions as we go, or we'll just take the questions through a Q&A session at the very end. If you're watching it on Facebook, just comment in the comment section and we'll get a response back to you shortly. So without further ado, guys, if you want to take the controls and show your screen, take it away.
All right, everyone. So my name is Joe Ebanks. Been in the real estate industry for over 20 years. Started as a fix and flipper, went through the crash. Obviously, now I invest absolutely into Airbnb, multifamily. And I pretty much love what I do. Been doing this for years. It's been able to give myself and my family a lot of financial freedom. And I love the guys over at NuView. So when they asked us to come talk to you guys, I jumped at the opportunity. So we're going to go through these slides here, and we have some information for you that we're going to go through. And Jason, take it away, bud.
Thank you. Well, VanBusKirk Investments, we focus on project management and asset management regarding short-term rentals, corporate rentals, Airbnb. You may hear a variety of different type of names that it's called in the industry, but it's our daily focus and what we do. And we focus in the Central Florida region. And we've been at it for, as Joe mentioned, for a long period of time. And currently we own and manage and master lease over 25 at this point in time. So where we wanted to start today was we want to talk about something that happened pretty recently, was, the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic that we're dealing with at this point in time. And that brought a tremendous amount of challenges to the hospitality industry. But thankfully, due to Joe's and our experience with logistics procurement, investment, finance, we were able to manage and make it through this challenging period of time. So what we did was we were very proactive. When the pandemic hit, we immediately started ordering supplies for 10 properties: linens, mattresses, lamps, toasters, whatever it would take to put together a short-term rental property. We began to order those through Amazon and have them delivered to our storage. And we actually created our own warehouse because we didn't know how long this would actually take. What really occurred at this point in time was we really didn't know what type of guests we were going to have during the pandemic. What actually occurred is we started to see corporations start to book our properties for their workers. Even though they may live in the same city, they would actually leave their house as if they were going to work from a 9-to-5 perspective, and they would actually go to our properties to actually work for the day and then go home to their families. We also saw a lot of construction companies start to book our properties because construction was still going on, and a general contractor would book our properties, and every 2 weeks they would rotate electricians, carpenters, plumbers, whatever it may be, in order to complete various projects. Also at this period of time, there was a tremendous amount of fraud that was going on with a lot of bookings. And we had a two-step verification process, not just the Airbnb process, but also in order to get the electronic lock code to the property, they had to present their photo ID or driver's license or passport that matched exactly with the booking information. And so we were able to prevent a lot of fraud that was going on at this particular time. But fortunately, we only had one instance, but we shut it down pretty quickly. And so we were very happy with our team and how they handled it. As far as competition from the hotels, what we learned is a lot of people want their own space, during the pandemic. So short-term rentals were a little bit more desirable than hotels at that period of time because people wanted their own space for obvious reasons. And we were able to keep operating, our business and things of that nature. Additionally, being in Florida never really completely shut down. Florida was one of the states that kind of remained open. And so we did have a lot of guests literally driving from the Midwest and Northeast down to Central Florida and also booking our properties as well.
Yeah,
so
teachers running Zoom calls from our short-term rentals.
Yes, we actually had teachers from New York. It was a teacher, her husband, her 2 teenage sons. They booked one of our Airbnbs. She was teaching New York City classes from Tampa, and her 2 sons were doing their schoolwork on Zoom as well from a house in Tampa. So that's kind of what we experienced in the pandemic world, so to speak. This particular slide right here is something I really like to focus on. A lot of people approach Joe and I about getting into the business and how to actually evaluate a property. For me, the number one important item is you want to be near what I call an unlimited amenity. And I'll give you an example of an unlimited amenity. If you take West Tampa, West Tampa, you have an airport. So the airport operates 365 days out the year. You're also close to about 5 hospitals. Those hospitals operate 365 times a year. 65 days a year. You have a football stadium. We just had the Rolling Stones concert this past weekend. It's football season. So we have University of South Florida football games on Saturday, Tampa Bay Buccaneers games on Sunday. So there's a lot of activity going on in West Tampa all year round. And so therefore, we're able to book all year round. Our airport is always under construction. So you always get construction workers that are looking for housing. So West Tampa has tremendous unlimited amenities. So there's a lot of activity always going on.
They just built Midtown.
Yeah, they just built a new $500 million mixed-use development called Midtown in West Tampa. And we've had several construction crews stay at our properties. Also, We have a major commercial district. Dale Mabry Highway is everything you need to find: big box stores, restaurants, LA Fitness, whatever you need is right there on Dale Mabry.
Stadium.
The football, as I said, the Raymond James Football Stadium, whether it's a football game or a monster truck or concerts and WWF wrestling and what have you, they operate, 365 days out the year. So West Tampa is a very strong area.
And the Yankees.
When you are considering short-term rentals. And as Joe just mentioned, the New York Yankees spring training facility is directly across the street from Raymond James Stadium, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play their NFL football games. So that's part of the evaluating the property. Also, when we underwrite the property, we take a look at utility costs. We take a look at the average daily rate. We take a look at, weather patterns and things of that nature. All that goes into underwriting the property. We look at lawn care. You have tree trimming. You have Wi-Fi. You have electric. You have water. You have to factor all those items in. And then we do not self-manage our properties. So we also add in 18 to 20% in property management cost on the gross revenue that you would earn during the month. So another item that we focus on is onboarding the short-term rental. So this is where the ladies take over and they do an outstanding job and they design the properties. You have to buy furniture. You have to buy decor. You have to buy silverware. You have to buy pots, pans, dishes, plates, cups, wine glasses. There's a lot of procurement involved in putting together a short-term rental, and you really want to make it look very attractive because you only have a finite period of time as the potential guest is clicking through the listing to really capture their eye and have them want to go ahead and book your property. I would say running a successful short-term rental, you definitely need strong property management. You never want to be a nuisance in the neighborhood. And running a successful short-term rental, you want to have it clean. You do not want to be a nuisance in the neighborhood. You want to have it decorated appropriately. You want to stay on top of your lawn care. You want to stay on top of your pest control. You want to stay on top of your tree trimming. Because remember, this is a family's vacation. This is a business traveler who has traveled into the area for important business meetings. You absolutely want people to be very, very comfortable.
Or someone that, like, we've also had clients that could come into town because their loved one is in the hospital and other things of that nature. So you never know what someone's situation is. So we like to make sure our properties are as comfortable as they can be when clients come into our properties.
Absolutely. And then once you have the property up and running, the continuation of the asset management and performance review is extremely important. We'll get involved into that a little bit further down the road. But, from an asset management standpoint, you have to read your property management statements. You have to review your property insurance. You have to really stay on top of the asset management to make sure that it's operating correctly.
Hey guys, and also feel free to drop your questions in the chats and we'll answer them as we go, but we'll do a Q&A at the end.
Sure. The next slide is titled Evaluating a Potential Short-Term Rental Property. So what you want to do is you really want to go to, we use municode.com, MUNICODE.com. If you go to municode.com, it will tell you the municipality laws and township rules regarding short-term rentals. So you want to make sure that you can actually operate a short-term rental in a particular neighborhood or particular municipality. We actually stay away from condo associations and homeowners associations because their bylaws can be very, very restrictive when it comes to short-term rentals. But there are several properties out there that are not under HOAs or condo associations that you can absolutely operate as a short-term rental. So please make sure you check the municipality laws and the township rules so you're not in violation. You got to make a decision on, what type of guests that you want to allow. So we do not allow any parties. We do not want to be a nuisance in the neighborhood. We do not allow someone to use one of our short-term rentals to throw a party. That's just something we're not comfortable with. We don't want to be a nuisance in the neighborhood, so we don't allow parties. Family gatherings, that's a different story. There's nothing wrong with a family gathering, but excessively loud music, people hanging out in the front of the property, beer cans on the front lawn, things of that nature, we do not tolerate any of that. When it comes to the financial part of analyzing,
Well, before you
Go
move
ahead.
on, Jason.
Sure.
And we also make sure that we have certain systems and processes in place. So, because you're going to have that client that gets past all that, so ends up having a party in your property. And we have certain equipment that we put in these houses, such as what they call
noise control, noise control.
noise control. So we'll know if a property is getting out of control because we'll get alerted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just to further Joe's point, our process is basically, we have exterior cameras, we have interior noise control devices, and we also have Wi-Fi detection devices. From a Wi-Fi detection device standpoint, if your short-term rental has a sleep 6, which means 6 individuals can stay in the property. Most people have a smartphone and have a tablet or a computer. So you're gonna have 12 pings on the Wi-Fi. If you have 30 pings on the Wi-Fi, someone is having a party. At that point in time, our property manager will contact the private security. Private security will show up, clear the house out, lock everything up, and the property manager reports the guests to Airbnb or VRBO or whatever channel they booked through to let them know that their reservation was canceled due to them violating the regulations and rules and having a party. So that's really how we handle situations that Joe just mentioned. As far as revenue projections, we use a software tool by the name of AirDNA. We have found AirDNA to be the most accurate tool that we have found as far as projecting certain revenues. The cost is not very expensive.
Yeah, it's kind of the rental meter for Airbnbs.
Exactly. So you go to AirDNA, you put in your bedroom and bathroom count, and you put in your sleep count. So if it's a 3-bedroom, sleep 6, 2 bathrooms, you put in 2 bathrooms, AirDNA will actually give you a gross annual revenue projection of what the other like properties in the area have been doing from a financial standpoint. You can use that data to underwrite your particular short-term rental deal. So that's what we do. We go in, we look at the AirDNA information. We also go in and we look at what our existing properties in the area are doing. We take off the 20% property management fee. We deduct the utilities, we deduct lawn care, we deduct tree trimming. We usually put in $200 a month for handyman expenses, and that pretty much gives us our net income. And we underwrite the property from there. So what we take a look at is in the Tampa market, if we're doing a master lease, we take a look at what the market rent is. So the market rent is, used to be $1 a square foot. Tampa's now up to, I think, $1.15 a square foot. So you take a 1,500 square foot house, multiply it by 1.15. That's pretty much what the market rent is. Or as Joe mentioned before, you can go to Rent-O-Meter to find out what the market rent is. You run your numbers and you determine, if it's a realistic, opportunity for you in order to make some money. And that's how we underwrite the deals. We use AirDNA software. We look at the market rent. We take a look at what the other properties are doing in the local area. And then we take a look at, the occupancy. And for this region, a lot of property managers we've talked to, they use anywhere between 70 to 75% annual occupancy. And that's pretty spot on. That's been pretty accurate for us.
Yeah, and so what we've done is we've come up with our own spreadsheet or underwriting software, if you would, that we can plug all these numbers into our sheet, our Excel spreadsheet, and it automatically will tell us if this property will work or not. So that's kind of our back of the envelope that we'll say, okay, we should do some more research on this property because this one looks like it might work.
Want to talk a little bit about property manager selection. So we utilize actually 3 different property managers, and I will share with you why. One is just basic diversification. So you never want to put
all your eggs in one basket.
All your eggs in one basket. You never want to have one property manager for all your properties. What happens if they have to go out of business? What if they have a major technology glitch? What if, anything can happen? So we use 3 different short-term rental property management companies, and they all have their strengths. So one is very strong in the beach communities. So they manage all of our beach properties for us. That's all they do. They only focus on the beach properties. They're very good at that. So we use that particular property management company for our beach properties. We have another company that's very strong at apartments. They're very good at booking and managing the apartments that we lease as short-term rentals. So yes, we go to large apartment complexes and we sign leases and we fully disclose that we're going to operate that particular apartment as a short-term rental. And this property management company is outstanding at those properties. Then we have our houses that we own and that we master lease in the city of Tampa. Those take a little bit more work because you have lawn care, you have tree trimming, scattered site. So what we've done is identify one specific company to take care of our houses. And we've also built the infrastructure by adding a property preservation company to work with them as well. Well, what is a property preservation company? Most short-term rental companies are very good at putting heads in beds. So they're very good at booking. They're very good at managing the cleaning. They're very good at dealing with guest requests. They may not be as good on the maintenance side of things. So it's more than just unclogging a toilet or unclogging a tub or things of that nature. So you have touch-up painting, you have handyman items that need to be taken care of. So we have a property preservation company that we've contracted with, and on a quarterly basis, they go into our properties, they look at everything interior and exterior.
Checklist, yeah.
They have a checklist they go through. It could be touch-up painting, it could be changing doorknobs, it could be fixing kitchen cabinets that have become unaligned, or kitchen drawers that have been unaligned. It could be replacing faucets. We have them go out on a quarterly basis and analyze all of our properties in our portfolio to make sure that we can actually offer the guest a very memorable experience. And this is part of our risk mitigation plan. We really try to be proactive about it because we do want the guest to show up and have a very nice experience. And by operating over 50 short-term rentals so far, these are really good tricks of the trade that we've learned, that you really need to add that property preservation partner into the mix, because a lot of the short-term rental property management companies, they may not have the maintenance staff to take these items on for you.
And this isn't something that you're going to do right out the bat, but as you start to grow and you have as many as we do, this is something that you're going to want to do. But because it keeps your handyman repairs from becoming
contractor repairs.
There you go. All right.
If you don't want the expensive contractor repairs.
All right.
So a little bit about our onboarding strategy. With staging a property, we talked about that a little bit. Supply list, electronics, and review and punch list. So our team that stages the properties, they do have a punch list. They do have a checklist of items to make sure nothing is actually forgotten. So most of our properties have just been renovated to some extent. Even the properties that we master lease, they're at long-term rental level, and we need to bring them up to hospitality level. So we may do some painting, we may replace light fixtures, we may replace some faucets. Even though we're master leasing that particular property, there's a major difference between a long-term rental and a short-term rental. So we have a list, a checklist that we go through to make sure all these items are taken care of. So supply list, you need cleaning supplies. So you want to stock your cleaning supplies. You're going to need multiple sets of linens. You're going to need, multiple sets of dishes and glasses and things of that nature. So we do keep an inventory count of after each guest checks out to make sure nothing is missing, nothing is broken. If so, we have replacements that we can add in, and that works out quite nicely. In our warehouse, we keep TVs, we keep toasters, we keep coffee makers. We always have extra items on hand just in case something needs to be replaced before the next guest checks in. Also, you want to make sure that you get your windows clean. So we have a team that'll come in and clean all the windows. We have another team that'll come in and clean all the duct. They go and clean the HVAC ducts, air conditioning, and all that kind of stuff to get all the dust out and contractor dust and things of that nature. So we actually have a process. We have a team that goes in and sets everything up to make sure that everything is nice, clean, and put together before we start having guests. The communication tools we talked about a little bit, which is very, very important. Protecting your property from people having parties and things of that nature. So we do have an IT team that comes in, they install the equipment and make sure the equipment is working correctly. And that way we don't have any issues or challenges. Our property manager is involved in this setup process as well. Just making sure everything is put together, make sure the noise detection devices are operating correctly, and it's a true team effort. We get the photographer once the ladies set everything up. We have the photographers come in. Photographers take great photos, the listing photos, post those photos, and off we go with our listing. And our property manager takes over at that point, and they deal with any guest concerns, and they alert us to any type of major repairs or major issues. And we just kind of manage the management companies, and we also manage the property preservation partner we have as well. And that's how we do it from an onboarding standpoint. Property management, daily operations, something that Joe and I do not want to be involved in is the daily operations of property management. We've done enough of it over our real estate investment careers. We leave this up to our property managers. As I mentioned, if there's any type of major issue, they will reach out to us and contact us. From a guest communication standpoint, they use automated messaging, text and chat. They also use various channel managers. So whether it's Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, or other different booking platforms that they use. They use a lot of virtual assistants as well. So if guests need a direct answer or have an immediate concern, they're responded to. And also our property managers have a review process to always try to improve their processes. And we learn something every day in this business. We're dealing with the general public that come and book, and we're presented with different challenges from time to time, and we have to think about those and resolve them in the most amicable way. And our property managers have done an outstanding job for us dealing with that. Some of the integration tools that our property managers use, we mentioned before, we use electronic locks, property surveillance. We do not have cameras on the interior of the property, but we do have cameras on the exterior of the property. And we talked a little bit about the noise control devices we use, and also the Wi-Fi identification tools that we use as well. So asset management is something that I, Jason, really focus on a daily basis. I really look at our assets and try to figure out what's the best way to maximize a particular property. Some properties we own, some properties we master lease, some properties are duplexes, some properties are apartments. So I look at these properties on a monthly basis and make sure we're maximizing the actual asset. And I'm big on risk management. I'm not paranoid, but I'm big on risk management. Sometimes I can see things, before they happen, and I try to be very, very proactive when it comes to risk management. The financial oversight, making sure our mortgage payments are made, making sure our lease payments are made. I pretty much put our utilities on auto payment. So I still look at the bank accounts consistently to make sure we're not being overcharged for utilities. Something to watch out for that's very important, your water bills. You have to make a decision if you want to put your water bills on auto draft. The reason why I say this is if you have a property that has a leak or a burst pipe and you receive a water bill that is $1,000 because of that leak, they're going to auto draft your bank account for that $1,000 instead of you identifying the property, seeing the bill, calling the water company, asking what's going on, what happened. Most water companies, if something occurs, it's not your fault or out of your control, they will work with you on the bill and give you a reduction. It's much easier to handle it that way than trying to get a refund on a $1,000 auto draft. So some of our water bills are on auto draft. Some of our water bills are not on auto draft for that specific reason. So when you take a look at your utilities, you have to make a decision of which ones you want to put on auto draft and which ones you do not want to put on auto drafts. I also review our maintenance costs on a monthly basis. We receive a monthly property management statement from our property management partners, and I actually look at each and every statement and I look at each and every line item. And if I see something from a maintenance perspective that I need further information on, I do ask for that. We do receive photos. We do receive copies of invoices. There is a Google folder that's included in a link to a Google folder that we receive for our property management statements. And when we click on that folder, most of the items, maintenance costs, are in that folder, and we can see actually what the costs are related to. So we do check that. We do look at that. At the end of the year, our CPA prepares the tax returns for each individual property. Each individual property and each individual lease has its own separate EIN number and own separate entity. Joe and I do not commingle properties or entities when it comes to this. We keep everything separate for obvious reasons. We have a very solid legal strategy. We're very proactive. We have a short-term rental lease that we use. We have agreements with our property management partners. We have agreements with our property preservation partners. And we are very, very document oriented to make sure that we stay within the guidelines of what we agreed to with our partners that make this happen for us on a daily basis. We talked a little bit about previously the importance of property preservation. You do not want bad reviews. You do not want your property to be damaged. You as the owner, you do want checks and balances. Even though you have good property management companies, you still want your own team going in and taking a look at things to make sure the property management companies are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that's something that's extremely important. And so we're in constant contact with our property preservation team as well. So what Joe and I have tried to do for you today is just to give you an introduction to short-term rentals. Some people call it arbitrage. Some people call it Airbnb.
Leisure rental.
Leisure rental, you hear various terms. Very attractive business. You can own properties and operate them as short-term rentals. You can master lease properties, whether it's an apartment or a house or a duplex or triplex or fourplex. We've had developers approach us that are developing a 16 unit and asked us if we would take all 16 units and operate them as short-term rentals because they don't want to be in a long-term rental property management game. We have friends in Atlanta that do Airstreams and do very well with Airstreams. Joe and I met a gentleman here in Florida that buys old marinas, buys old boats that don't go out to sea anymore, renovates some of the houseboats and uses those as short-term rentals and is crushing it, doing very well at it. So there's a variety of housing options you can offer as a short-term rental, but you always want to make sure the guests feel safe. You want to make sure the properties are clean. You want to make sure that the property is being managed appropriately. And whenever we go to lease a property, I tell a factual story about how my wife and I purchased a house next door to us. And we operate as a short-term rental directly next door to where we live in West Tampa. We operate the property as a short-term rental. So that's how much we believe in the business. And that's how much we believe in being a good neighbor and not being a nuisance in the neighborhood. Our neighbors know who we are. Our neighbors know we operate that property as a short-term rental. We have not gotten one knock on our door, one text message, one email, or one nasty glaring look from any of our neighbors in our neighborhood, because we take the property management part of it very, very seriously, and we do not want to be a nuisance in the neighborhood. I believe we have gotten some questions in the chat, and Joe's been answering those questions.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep up.
So ones that we may not have answered.
All right, so Joanne has a question. Could you speak about the short-term lease in more detail? So we'll answer this live. If you want to answer that question, Jason.
Sure. So we hired a very qualified real estate attorney. She is outstanding. We have two female real estate attorneys who are brilliant and outstanding. Those two ladies take care of us and make sure that we don't have any major issues. But in our lease, it details and discloses we are going to operate this property as a short-term rental. We are responsible for handyman repairs of $200 and below per occurrence. Anything above that is the property owner's responsibility. The amount of the monthly rent is in there. The duration of the lease is in there. We also have a frustration of purpose clause that we put in there, and I'll explain what a frustration of purpose clause is. You are operating a business. So if you have a single family home that is doing well as a short-term rental, but the city or municipality just got a $5 million grant to replace a sewer line that they've been asking for. They've been trying to get the grant money for the last 10 years. So they're going to rip up the street with backhoes and with heavy yellow equipment and bulldozers in front of your property that you've been operating successfully as a short-term rental. It's going to be a 9-month project. We will invoke our frustration of purpose clause. Our moving company will show up. They will pack up the kitchen, take the paintings off the walls, take all the furniture out, put it on the moving truck. We would have signed another lease at another property. They drive to that property, they unpack everything, set everything up. We call our photographer. Photographer comes out, takes new photos, put the listing right back up on Airbnb and continue to move forward. So you always want to have an out clause in your lease for things like that. You also may run into a property owner that doesn't want to make a necessary repair that's harming your property. We've run into that a couple times where we let the owner know, if you don't make this property, then we're going to terminate the lease. So we give them 2 or 3 warnings. They decided not to, so we terminated the leases. And we, like I said, called up our moving company, he packed up everything and went right on to another property. So having that frustration of purpose clause is very, very important. We do not do any leases in our personal name. The leases are in an LLC name. We do not have personal credit reports ran. This is a business, not your personal credit. And some companies that works for, some owners that works for, some it does not. And those that do not, we walk away and go find another property.
Yeah, and people will tell you that like big major companies won't do that. And that's not true. We have several units in big, 5
Class A.
Yeah, Class A apartment complexes that we've signed with our business name. So it's just you being determined and having a little grit and find the apartment complexes that will do that for you. so that you can get these nice A-class properties and turn them into a successful Airbnb for yourself. All right,
Any additional questions?
all right, so at this point, we'll start taking questions. Nate, how do you want to handle it?
Yeah, I think you guys have been doing great with the questions. I've been seeing them as they're coming in, so I appreciate you guys answering those as you come in. I just want to, add a couple things if I may. There's a lot of clients that have been very successful with Airbnbs and short-term rentals within their IRAs. I can give you a personal story of somebody that's, pretty close to me. And what reminded me of it is, Jason, when you mentioned, a football season, he's an investor who owned an Airbnb, relatively close to NRG Stadium in Houston. And this is back when the Texans were winning a little bit more, but, they're still a pretty popular team out in Texas. But this was also just before they hosted the Super Bowl one year. And I could remember, him telling me, what he got for a week or 2 weeks prior to the Super Bowl. And it was like $24,000 for 2 weeks, because it was, by a place that you mentioned, there's need, there's people that are coming in. And I would say a lot of players, ex-players like to, stay, when you say they want to be away from people, they don't want to be in a hotel. They'd rather be in a property that's already set up for them, that's a little more isolated. So there's, big opportunity with short-term rentals and Airbnbs. I think, market obviously is a very, very key, point to be made. And I think you guys have been doing a great job in Tampa and made a lot of good points. And I just want to remind people that you can do everything that they are talking about within your retirement account. There are some cautions to that, but I'll just leave it at that. And let's see if we got any more questions for you guys as well. So actually there's one that came in on IRA. So if you guys don't mind, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Says, how does one use an IRA to invest in short-term rentals? One is not allowed to work in the investment. Is it allowed if there's a management company? So great question. This is no different than any investment in your IRA. It doesn't have to be a short-term rental, long-term rental. When it comes to your IRA, your responsibility to your IRA is to find it investments and be a good fiduciary to the account. What you're not allowed to do is be an active participant in the investment and involve any sweat equity. So, being that it's short-term or long-term doesn't really matter. It always helps to have a property manager in between you and the asset. I think, Jason and Joe talked about how they have a property manager and they're not even doing this in their IRAs, but it's important that they want to not have to deal with toilets and tenants, because their, time, versus money gained is better doing other things. So the same goes for your IRA. You want to have, a third party in the middle there that collects the rents, deals with the tenants, pay them their 10% of the rents or whatever it is that they may be. So that's how you keep arm's length. That's how you keep, as a passive participant in the investment. One thing that I will mention with IRAs, though, that you should consider, but definitely don't take this as a negative, because it really just depends on your, cash on cash return, is that when you use your IRA for short-term rentals, it does put the IRA in a different position based on the investment type. Short-term rentals are considered more of a business. And again, that doesn't really affect us much outside of an IRA, but inside of an IRA, when your IRA owns a business, then it does become a taxpayer. It becomes a taxpayer where it has to pay what's called unrelated business income tax. Now, this should not scare you away from short-term rentals, because I will tell you, in my experience, I've seen the returns on some short-term rentals and they're astronomically higher than other investment types. So just because you have to pay a little bit of tax, weigh that out as a cost of doing business. Weigh that out as, if I pay a little bit of tax doing short-term rentals in my IRA, am I making more money than this long-term rental? It's that easy. It's just a numbers game. But do make sure that you understand that if you are doing short-term rentals, it could be perceived as a business. And usually short-term rentals, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think it's 7 days or less. It constitutes short-term rentals. I think in the IRA world, that's kind of what they view it as. If you're consistently doing leases at 7 days or less, it's viewed as a business, not a long-term investment. I'm not sure if you guys have any other opinion on that, but I just want to throw that out to clients.
Yeah, Nate, it's actually 30 days or less.
30 days or less. Okay, I apologize. So 30 days or less. So, and I think activity matters in the IRA sense. If you do one short-term lease and then you do a bunch of long-term leases, is that going to be a business? No, obviously repetition in an IRA has a lot to do with it. So if you're running a short-term rental game in the IRA, you might have to pay a little bit of tax, but again, make sure the investment is profitable enough to outweigh that, and you should be fine. And remember, you always get that benefit of tax-free growth after that little bit of tax. So you might outweigh yourself in the long run anyway. So
And Nate, let me say this as well, because I know a lot of people get confused and think that this is a harder business than just a regular lease, so to speak, or they're just leasing your house for 12 months. And what Jason and I have figured out over these last couple of years doing this is, once you put the proper processes and systems in place, this is not something that you have to do on a daily basis. We check in with our property managers, once a month. Unless there's an issue, they'll let us know, but that's just like with any other tenant. And we just pretty much watch our statements, and we check in and see how many bookings we have, because we can look at that on our iPad or our iPhone. And that's pretty much it. The rest after that, we're just waiting for the money to hit our account each month.
Yeah.
Yep. I totally agree with you. One of my mentors, I would say, he said something that had always stuck to me when it comes to investing or just really doing anything is, concentrate on high dollar activities. Don't focus on minimum wage activities. And that goes true when you're running a business, or you're running a short-term rental game, or trying to work with your IRAs investments. It probably doesn't pay well to spend time actually dealing with all the little nitty gritty stuff. Hire professionals. That's what they're there for. Create a team around you so you can enjoy life, enjoy the time spent with your family, and just let the income come in, and have a team of professionals, help you along the way. You're just going to get a lot further. I believe.
Absolutely. I mean, and what we did originally is, we wanted to get our hands dirty so we could find out all the pitfalls of everything that was going on. So we did that purposefully. But if someone is trying to invest in their IRA and they need to have that arm's length, I mean, it's just a simple process of interviewing some property managers, finding someone that's good and that fits you, because that's important. Because you could have a good property manager that doesn't fit your personality and won't give you this level of service that you're looking for. But once you find that person, then it's easy to deal going forward. And as you start to grow, with one or two, or get to 26, or our goal is 100 next year, you start to figure out the processes and systems like we use, to where you could still travel, you could still have fun, you could still run a regular other business or have a regular job, and everything works fine.
Yeah, it's Nate, to point that you made, we do have financial partners that use their self-directed IRAs for this stuff. We do have people that approach us that want to learn it, and they're using their self-directed IRAs for this. So they absolutely can, to your point, use their self-directed IRAs, for this business. And as Joe, another point I want to make is Joe mentioned, on our phones, we can check our calendars. So there's various software, I think our guys use Guesty, and we can look at our calendars. It tells you your bookings, your revenue, month to date. So as the month is going along, you can actually see how you're doing financially, and you can get alerts. If you want an alert every time somebody books a property, then they can set the software up where you get an alert every time you have a booking.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another way to include your IRA and not do any work. Just be passive, like I do. I like to just do notes, so if you find somebody, and this is not a promotion to Jason and Joe, because they do a pretty good job promoting themselves, and I can't pitch investments, but if you find somebody like these guys that are highly knowledgeable about the industry, and you just want a piece, maybe you can structure yourself as a passive investor in some of these deals. You don't have to be the active participant. Can you make a little bit more profit if you're doing all the work to find it? Sure. But again, how much time is that going to take you, especially if you're new? Maybe you just be the bank with your IRA. Most of our clients choose to be passive through either a note secured by property, or maybe it's a loan to a business that's running a short-term rental game. There's so many different options and so many different win-win scenarios that you can create by leveraging the talent of others and just using your IRA as a capital source. So whatever you decide to do, and the reason I bring that up is, when you loan instead of own, you don't have to worry about unrelated business income tax. So that's another benefit to loaning versus owning. You don't have to worry about that dreaded UBIT tax that I talked about a couple minutes ago.
That's very true. Joe and I love the passive part of it because I don't mind saying this. I kind of forget all the hard work we put in to get going and how hard work our wives put in with us to get going on this. But literally, when we get our direct deposits from the property management companies, I literally sit there and say, what have you done the last 30 days to earn this deposit? And I'm like, yeah, I do look at the property management statements, but I haven't talked to any guests. I may have a couple text messages with our property management partners.
There's property I haven't been to in years.
Right. We don't, yeah, we drive by, because we live in the area. So we drive by, our property preservation team sends us photos in the folder when they go and take pictures on the exterior and interior. So when the data is there for us to look at it when we want to, but it has become passive, and we work on it, but it's not nearly what it was like when we were getting started, because now we know what to look out for. We know how to identify a property. We know our risk mitigation. We know when we need to make, adjustments. And so we really had an opportunity to learn the business. It's a very exciting business.
Yeah, well, I think between the two of you guys, it's over 40 years of experience. Am I right?
Correct. And I'll say this. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still real estate, just like with anything else. You make money when you buy it. If you buy it correctly, if you follow the process and systems that we've learned and developed over this time, it's just like any other investment. And I just love having a property that I know is well taken care of. I mean, because I used to be a regular landlord, and having a property that I know gets cleaned 2 to 3 times a week, that is always in showroom condition, has less wear and tear because someone's not living in my property 365 days a year. I mean, it was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, if you don't mind, you told me a story when you guys came up to our NuView class a couple months ago. I think you told me a story. I think you and your wife were out driving or something, and somebody's scoping out properties on their phone, and while the other one, and you guys made an offer, pulled over on the side of the road and made an offer. Do you remember this story you told me?
Yes, absolutely. We were driving around on a Saturday, and my wife has these alerts on her phone whenever a property is listed in particular zip codes and neighborhoods that are great for short-term rentals. So there's a neighborhood called Town and Country. It's close to the Tampa airport. It's a really nice neighborhood. And so her phone dinged, and she's like, pull over. I'm like, what? Is our family okay? It's an emergency? She's like, no, I just got a ding about a property. I'm like, so I pull over to the side. She looks at it, and she's like, we're buying this. So she calls our realtor and she copied the link, sent it to our realtor, and told her to prepared a sales agreement for it, and gave her the LLC entity. We always keep like at least 3 or 4 ready to go on the shelf, LLC entities on the shelf, ready to go. Gave her the entity. All of a sudden I get this DocuSign to my phone like 3 minutes later. I signed it by DocuSign as we're pulled over to the side of the road. And like an hour and a half later, our offer was accepted. And we just had our first guest October 21st. And it's already cranking. True story.
That's awesome.
True story. And
I love that story. Yeah, it's a true family affair, get the family involved. And I just thought that was, but hey, that's how you win in such a competitive market with, low inventory is, use technology, pull over the side of the road, DocuSign, let's get it done.
Well, that's true. And let me tell you why we're able to do that. It's because we've already built a successful avatar of properties that work for us. And we know just by looking at the location, the bed and bath count, and where it's at, we know if it's good to go or not, and the price.
That's awesome. I mean, again, you guys have the experience in that, especially in that Tampa area. I mean, you guys live, I mean, it's your backyard, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's great. I think there's some other, I just want to make sure I tackle all the questions. There's some things in the chat as well. Somebody just saying, Joanne, thanks for attending. Great presentation, Joe and Jason. I met you guys at the NuView event. Awesome. Stay tuned. I actually have a little announcement about the next NuView event. And then John Sims, why would operating a business inside of an IRA create tax obligations? Is that true for any business inside of an IRA? Yeah, I don't want to get too deep in it because it's not the topic today, but if you want to go to our YouTube channel, I have several presentations and things that I've recorded on it. There's really three circumstances that can trigger a tax to your IRA. One is buying debt leverage property. If you're buying your property cash, you don't have to worry about it. One is buying personal property. So that's things that aren't attached to the ground, jet skis, boats, cars, things like that. Because that's viewed as business activity, leasing activity. And if you run a business activity, just think about it, it's a leveling of the playing field. If IRAs were allowed to buy businesses and not pay tax, IRAs would own every business known to man because they would have a competitive advantage to people owning businesses. So if the IRA owns a trade or a business that's in competition with other businesses, the IRA becomes a taxpayer. The difficult part about that is the IRA pays taxes at trust and estate rates, not personal income tax rates. So you just have to look at what that tax rate is. There's ways to avoid it and minimize it. I kind of mentioned one way to avoid it completely is just don't own the business. Be a passive in the business, own maybe shares in the business, or be a passive investor where you're getting dividends, or just, if you're investing into a property that might generate, business income, just be a lender on the business. You have to be passive anyways with the IRA. So maybe that's a better situation and you don't have to worry about it. But if you are the active person that does want to go out there and find their own deals, short-term rentals or other businesses, again, the tax isn't something that should steer you away from the investment, but you do need to be aware that it does kick in if your IRA owns an operating business. Fun stuff. I am a hit at parties. If you guys want me to talk to your party goers, not at one of their Airbnbs though, because there are no parties there.
No parties there. We can have gatherings.
Gatherings, yeah, gatherings, no parties.
Family birthday parties are fine. Family birthday parties are fine.
Yeah. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to jump to the next slide. If you guys see any other questions there, just kind of blurt them out, but I think we addressed all of them. Let me just share my screen back.
Stop sharing here.
Yeah, just stop sharing. And then I'm going to share mine because I want to make sure that everybody knows about our next big event. Let me make sure I got it on the right screen here. Can you guys see that full screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, you can see that full screen. Okay, so big announcement. We've been kind of planning this behind the scenes, but we've finally got the marketing material ready, and I want to make this big announcement. NuView is going to be hosting their very first annual investor retreat. This is coming up January 6th and 7th. That is a Thursday, Friday. Reason why I wanted to do Thursday, Friday is there's not a lot of availability January, February because it's busy season here in Florida. But it does give you the opportunity, if you're traveling in from outside of Florida, to stay the weekend and enjoy some of Universal or Disney World if you got family that you want to bring into town. But this is going to be a 2-day investor workshop. There's going to be power networking. There's going to be about 20 different speakers from across the country that are going to be talking about different investment strategies that they use and they're familiar with. We want to give kind of the biggest variety of investment education available to you guys out there. So everything from real estate, short-term, long-term, multifamily, commercial real estate. There's going to be some note educators talking about note investing. There may even be some crypto individuals that specialize in cryptocurrency. We're going to have a ton of education, a ton of networking opportunities. We have the room booked for up to 400 people. So we're expecting to pack the room, and we just put tickets on sale. We have early bird tickets. This is one of the only events that NuView will ever charge for. Most of our events are free, but this one is a very expensive one for us, only because we're bringing in top talent from across the country to better serve you. So really the ticket sales are just really a break-even point for us. But if you go to NuViewTrust.com/investor retreat, you can take early bird pricing right now for general admission tickets. Normally they're $199. They're on sale for $99 for the next couple of weeks. And if you want to be a VIP of the event, tickets are normally $450. They're going for $299 right now. That basically pays for the meals. So VIPs get front row seating, reserve front row seating. There's a VIP lounge that you'll have access to, which all the speakers will also have access to. So you'll get firsthand experience with the speakers in your own VIP lounge. There'll be food. You'll get lunch both days. And you'll also get a recording of the event. So a professional recording of the event. So for $299, that is a steal. Make sure you get those tickets while they're available. This is going to be the biggest event that we have ever put on. It's a 2-day event. We've never done a 2-day event. And if you can't attend, we will be selling the recording, but I think that you should attend. There's going to be a ton of people from Florida. I would say 75% of the room will be NuView clients, most likely. And I heard through the grapevine that Joe and Jason might even be there as well, giving a little bit more in-depth knowledge about short-term rentals and what better, place.
We will be there.
Setting. What's that?
We will be there.
They'll be there. Oh, another thing too is we're gonna have a little fun too. Well, we're gonna have a cocktail hour. We're gonna have a networking night on the Thursday night, and that's already been picked up as a sponsorship. So we've got sponsors coming in, we've got vendors coming in, we got speakers coming in. Everyone is really super excited about this event. So make sure you get tickets. Make sure that you contact us if you have any questions. You can email me directly if you have questions, or email IRA specialists at NuViewTrust.com. If you want my email, it's just my first initial and last name. So nhare, I'll type it in the chat box here, nhare at NuViewTrust.com, NHARE at NuViewTrust.com. Email me if you're interested in sponsoring or speaking, or email our IRA specialist, and make sure you go to the website again here and buy tickets, because they are going fast, and we're just unleashing this today. And we already have people that are knocking down our doors to get into this event. So Joe and Jason, I'll probably stick with you guys afterwards, or call you right afterwards and make sure you guys are a part of it. But I thought that this was a great presentation. I really appreciate your guys' time. I thought you guys did a great job also at our Night with NuView event. I got a lot of good feedback, by the way. People that met you guys, they said they really liked you guys and really liked your strategy, through the master leases and all that. And the fact that you're local is just an even, cherry on top. So I really appreciate you guys for all that you do. You guys there?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
We were muted.
we were muted. We didn't want to disrupt you, but yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to come in and educate, as many people as we can. We enjoy the business. We love the business, and we like to see more people get involved. We think it's great, and it has a lot of flexibility.
Yeah. Do you guys have contact information that people can, if they need to reach out to you guys, they can reach out to you directly?
I've actually dropped it in the chat and to a couple of people already, but
Okay.
I'll drop it in here one more time. I'll put it
If you
right.
want to say it out loud too, just so people that watch the recording, they know.
Sure. So phone number is area code 813-460-0224, 813-460-0224. And our email is info@VBKinvestments.com. V is in violin, B is in boy, K is in kite, investments, that's plural with S on the end, .com. Info@VBKinvestments.com. And our website obviously is www.vbkinvestments.com.
Awesome. Well, you guys were great. I hope that you guys get some, some people that call you and reach out to you, because you guys have been, so great. And I've learned a lot today, and I can't wait to do more with you guys. So, thank you guys again.
Thanks for having us, Nate. We appreciate it. And we'll be there January 6th and 7th, and we'll stay active, spreading
Awesome.
knowledge and education. That's what we're about.
Awesome. Well, I'll contact you guys as soon as I get wrapped up on this. And, thanks again for everybody joining us on NuView's Wednesday workshop. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.